Okay, next, failsafe. Now this is over in the configuration portion of the red highlighted areas. I don't do it until the end, to tell you the God's awful truth. This failsafe mechanism's here. I set up radio failsafe, battery failsafe. The rest of these are kind of set up. I set up just my regular return to launch. So the battery failsafes, just pretty easy. You decide where you want your voltage to trigger a failsafe. I mean, it's all up to you. Everybody has a little different one. And you can set that over in this portion of Mission Planner. It's fairly easy. There we go. And that is in this mandatory hardware failsafe. I don't want to be out doing PID check like it first popped up oscillating on me and have it be set up to go return to launch on something and not even being checked yet. So I've got mine set kind of conservatively at 22.5 volts and doing an RTL, return to launch on the battery. I had a lot of trouble with the radio failsafe. We'll get to that. This is really, as hard as it is to set up, this is just a timer for how long you want it to be low before it complains. You can change this if you're pulling the battery too low on takeoff, etc., etc. Lots of different places to play with. So, and they talk about two-layer failsafe. One is just to return to home at your battery voltage you set, and then there's a second one that's like a critical battery failsafe, critical to land. So these are advanced settings supposedly, but I always do my sag corrected voltage because I'm trying to keep takeoffs from sagging it too far and that stuff. And this is that timer I just showed you. How long must the voltage be below the threshold for the failsafe to trigger? That's pretty much battery failsafes. They're not too bad. This radio failsafe just gave me down the road yesterday. Yeah, I actually set it up yesterday. And what this is for if your radio blows up, dies, battery dies, whatever. And there's just really one thing that controls it. You set it to happen, and then whatever value you put for it, right here it is. And this value is in PWM, for throttle PWM. Enabled, always return to launch. Now mine's 950. You look at my radio, I guess you can't if I'm not powered up, can you?
Welcome to OpenTX. Switch warning. Stabilize.
When my radio was calibrated, you'll notice right here on the throttle, 981 was the lowest PWM that my radio put out. Now I had a little trouble. I guess I'll just go ahead and do it all. Let's see here. So let's look at the Crossfire Nano RX Pro right here. With it set in failsafe mode of cut, which I really think some of the other ones I've got here, and I'll have to check them, but I really do believe when it was cut, they went to no output, basically. I got to get my
Welcome to OpenTX.
transmitter back in my radio there. And let's see. Okay, now we're going. And 981 here is my lowest. So if we try this radio failsafe just by turning it off.
Receiver still connected.
I don't really get a cut. It stays right where it is. All the rest of them do too. And that may be the way they're supposed to. It's just my airplanes do differently than this.
OpenTX. Stabilize.
So I'll turn it back on. I'm going to raise the throttle to right there and turn the radio off.
Receiver still connected.
Radio's off. See, that throttle didn't fall. So, yeah, I'll turn it back on. I'm going to raise it all the way to the top and watch. When the radio connects again, it'll go all the way to the top as it connects. Oops. I'll have to hit the button because of switch failure.
OpenTX. Throttle warning. Stabilize.
See? So whatever I do with this, any of these, if I put the yaw over to the left there and the throttle halfway up and shut off the radio,
Still connected.
that's the way they're going to stay. I just let the stick back to center. That's the way they're going to stay. I don't know if it's this
To OpenTX.
uh,
Stabilize.
receiver, radio, or what. I'll have to research that a little deeper. Maybe the Dragon Link is what I'm thinking about that works differently. So to get this failsafe to work, its default is 9. What is its default? We can actually find that over here. Failsafe. 975 is what the default is for that in this setup, failsafe setup area right here. Well, you can see my normal throttle when it's all the way low is 981. So there's going to be 6 different. So 975 should make it work, right? Well, how do you do that? I went in, did everything I could to figure out how to make that work, and I couldn't. So what I had to do
Receiver still connected.
is I had to go into the Crossfire receiver and set a different mode. I guess I could have gone out on the internet and found an instructional video, but I'm real bad just trying to do things on my own. So what I did is I went into the receiver and I set this failsafe mode to failsafe position. Now this is a little tricky right here. So with that set to failsafe position, we'll go ahead and put my transmitter back in my radio, and I need my cell phone for this one. I'll turn it back on,
Welcome to OpenTX.
and I'll go get my cell phone and be right back. The first thing I had to do is come into the model, go down to where it says, this is a TX16S, extend the limits right here. Whoops. Right there. Whoops. Right there. And it just turned red. That allows me to extend the PWM limits on this radio. So now I'll go back into the model and go over, go over to the outputs and go down to 3 for the throttle. And right here,
You'll notice right here, there's that lowest point that this radio was giving out. Now when I start to change this value, now that I can change it, you can see this going down, 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 down. So I set it way down here, like this. So now you come back in here and go into TBS Agent Light. Go to the transmitter, and down at the bottom, you see right here, it says Set Failsafe, and you hit enter. And it says ready to run, execute, enter. That's what I did. Setting failsafes. Change FS type to FS position. It's already set that way, but I just let it go. It is set, so now I can come right back out of it. And what I've just done there is now the failsafe on that receiver is to go down to, if the radio disappears, it's not in contact with the radio anymore, then that throttle output for channel 3 is supposed to go down to 732 microseconds. Oh, by the way, now in the radio, I can come in here, turn off extended limits, go back over to this throttle, whoops, it's not the throttle, this throttle channel, and set this back to 512, like that right there. Now we've got our normal low limit right there for the throttle while it's flying. So now, with this set this way, and that receiver and that platform set for fail-safe positioning of a low 736 or whatever PWM, let's go back to the platform on the bench computer.
So now you're going to see here that I've got what I want. Now I'm going to raise that throttle up like that, and I'm going to turn the radio off.
Receiver still connected.
And now I'm going to push the button to acknowledge that I still want to turn the radio off, and you'll see what happens. The PWM of the channel out on the RC receiver puts out 878 PWM, which falls below this 950. And I just dropped this 25 to keep it away. It could be 975. It wouldn't matter at all, because if I turn my radio back on, you'll see that 878. I'm going to put it at bottom throttle.
Stabilize.
It pops right back up to 987. That's truly higher than 975. So either one of those, the default or below, would work, but you don't want to get below down where it goes. So I kind of had to do a backflip there to get the operation I wanted. Maybe that's if I went out and looked at, maybe if I even looked at the documentation in Arducopter, they would have told me to do something like that. But I just thought about how I could do it. Now see, on the RC receiver, I thought the cut was no output on all the PWMs. All the PWMs with the failsafe set that way on the RC receiver, I thought all the outputs would go to 0. Nope. So if this is in cut position, well, come on, cut. There we go. If it's in cut like that, I thought it was just going to cut the PWMs, but evidently it doesn't. It just stops outputting and they stay right there where they were, which is what I thought. a failsafe position did from years of just the RC receiver, no computerization or nothing. 20 years ago, you could move your radio like your roll over 45 degrees and slight right rudder and slight up elevator and touch a button on your RC receiver, and your RC receiver would receive those failsafe positions. And no matter where the controls were when it went into a failsafe, it would start outputting those positions. And I guess that's what this really does when you... I'm going in there without any other control input except me changing the PWM output of channel 3 down to 700 and something, and then telling it to do that. So I guess that's what it's doing, exactly what it's doing. And that's why I thought this would be doing that, and the other cut I thought would be, and I think what it is the Dragon Link does it's not a cut, what is it? No output. It has a no output function, I think. In addition to a fail-safe position like this that receivers has had for a long, long time. Now here's the strange part for me. Let me go over here. We're just going to clear this real quick. And you can see everything set up here. I'm going to turn off the radio. And on my airplanes, this changes to circle for the countdown until it goes into full radio failsafe on an airplane. And did you see that put all that stuff back in there just because I wanted it to be clear? You know what that is, don't you? That's the Tron God messing with me. And then after that timeout, it goes into true return to home, and the airplane flies home and circles the takeoff point. Now this, when I turn off the radio,
Receiver still connected.
And touch the button, this doesn't do a thing here, but this goes failsafe, and right here we see radio failsafe, radio failsafe disarming right here. I know there's some in below. That's why I wanted to get rid of all that. And now, if I turn the radio back on,
Welcome to OpenTX. Stabilize.
bam, radio failsafe cleared right here. And if I turn it back off,
Receiver still connected.
camera not ready, radio failsafe disarming. So I think what's going on here, this Ardocopter seems to work a little differently than Arduplane. So I can't really check it on the bench like I can with Arduplane by what goes on right here and actually see that it goes into RTL, because it's not going to do that while it's in a pre-arm condition. I think it's got to be flying. So I think I've got this set and I'm ready to test it. And if it works, everything's done. If it doesn't, I'll have to come back to this, but I'm not going to make a new video on it. I will make it work. I mean, this is how, if it flies out of range. So if I test it by turning off the radio and it works, the next time I'm going to test it by setting the power on the transmitter as low as possible, maybe even use the range check mode and see what it does. That might not be too smart. And become familiar with what's going on here just by experimentation is basically what I do, because I don't know how you can find much help on Ardu Copter, Ardu Plane, Ardu Rover, Ardu Sub, Ardu Tracker. What else is there? There's all sorts of them. I wouldn't mind paying for help. Where do you go for that? So basically, the little quad is now ready for final checking of battery failsafe, radio failsafe, battery failsafe. Just keep track of the voltage, and when it gets near my 22.5, just keep flying it close in, and hopefully it'll go into failsafe. It should ignore your inputs until you switch modes. You can actually switch modes right after it goes into return to launch and take it back over and bring it straight back in. You better not be trying to fly more that way, especially with my 22.5 volts on a 6S battery is 25% capacity left. Not a whole lot left. I'm trying to pull 75% out of them. Some people pull 80. Some people pull less. So I'm going to end this video here and say thank you so much.